Welcome to My Watches with Ben. If you're interested in traditional field watches, you've come to the right place. Hamilton, Marathon, Bertucci, Longines, CWC, Tudor, Benris. We'll look at all the best traditional field watches, and also the worst ones, the winners and the losers. They're all here. In this multi-video series, I will present to you my analysis of over 300 traditional field watches from 191 brands. This will conclude with a list of the top 10 traditional field watches out of all the watches that I and you viewers can find on the market today. I need your help, Obi-Wan. And this analysis is not just surface level. I rate the watches by factoring in every conceivable quantifiable element. Size, weight, thickness, complications, case material, crystal, dial format, strap, lume, movement, many more. Before we get to the final top 10, I even include subjective elements as well. Nostalgia, uniqueness, affordability, brand strength, etc. This whole exercise is too big for one video. I mean, I have put it all in one video in the past, many times. That's usually what I do. You viewers encouraged me to split them up, so that's what we're doing. Today, we'll just focus on the affordable price range, under $180. There's 4 price ranges. It's just dictated by the market. I just did equal numbers in each price range. Today, we're going to see the Timex Expedition North, the Lorus Lumibrite, Boderry Voyager, Bertucci Construction King, Sestri and Chester, Militato, Escapement Time, Redwood, Casio, Ratio, Baltony, Alba, Seiko, Pagani, many more. After this video today, there will be 3 other price ranges. Then there will be a video focused just on watches that you identified that I missed. If I missed any, maybe I got them all. I think I probably missed a few. Please help me out with that. And then finally, there will be a runoff video where I put all the best watches from each price range against each other in the Thunderdome. 2 watches enter, 1 watch leaves. That's not actually how it works exactly, but you know what? We'll just go with that. Maybe I can make it that way somehow. But it will be a saga. The roadmap for today's video is I'll do some backstory, I'll do philosophy, I'll do methodology, then I'll show you the watches 6th place down to 78th place, and then I'll end the video with the top 5 traditional field watches under 180 bucks. There are timestamps for this stuff, the chapter system for the different segments. If you only have 15 minutes and you just want the top 5 list, just skip ahead now, using the timestamps in the description. Or if you don't need all the yammering, you can skip to the watches if you just want to see watches. The choice is yours. Yeah, I have some assorted jabbering first. And you guys appreciate it. Some of you appreciate the jabbering, so it's in there. You want to know how I did it, what I'm thinking, why I think certain characteristics are better than others. When I do finally get to the watches at long last, if you don't see your favorite traditional field watch under 180 bucks in the video, or if you disagree with my take, please let me know in the comments. I really thrive on the feedback. I already alluded to this. If you say I missed a watch, that's very helpful to me. I can put it in that omissions video, and it can be in the final runoff. Before that final runoff, the Thunderdome occurs, I will include a short video with all the omissions. And the really good ones do end up in the Thunderdome. In the last couple video series, some of those omissions actually ended up in the final top 10. So I appreciate your help there. All right, now for the first segment, the backstory. Try to keep this brief. Back in February of 2024, a year and a half ago, more than a year and a half ago, I made my first watch type analysis video using scoring system. I did it on field watches. It was field watches. And that video has been a total beast. Just totally carrying my channel, giving me a reason to keep making videos, just carrying it entirely. But ever since I made that video a year and a half ago, I've wanted to change things about it. The first video was a lot simpler than what I do now. Over time, I just started adding more and more things to the scoring system. That first video, I didn't have thickness at all, or weight. I didn't explore the nuances of the different types of the field watches. The thing that bothers me the most is that I didn't make the scoring system fit on what we're used to with grading. An A grade being 90 plus, a B grade being 80 to 90. I don't think that bothered the viewers, but it bothered me. So I'm really glad to be putting things on a normal scale, normalizing the curve better. And yeah, I didn't understand the nuances of field watch. It's a broad category. I was going for traditional, but I also wanted super rugged, but I excluded digital watches entirely. And things are different now. I needed to find a way to cover the digitals, to cover the more minimalist, more modern, go anywhere, do anything type watches, like the Rolex Explorer. So yeah, I did series on the Gata and on the military / technical, the Casio G-Shocks. And today I am super pumped to be looking at traditional field watches again with updated everything. I have a little bit of an idea about what's going to end up on top at the end, but I've changed so much stuff with this one that I really don't know where this thing is going to take us. And there are more watches this time. So strap in, this will be a journey that we take together. The journey to find the best traditional field watch. And that leads to the philosophy of the traditional field watch. Philosophy the right word? Maybe it's just my perspective on what a traditional field watch is. My perspective is that traditional field watches are simple, rugged, classic looking, often with vintage aesthetics. They call to mind a bygone era. The Great Depression, Prohibition, suits and hats, jazz, the jitterbug, Charlie Chaplin. Traditional field watches call to mind World War I and World War II. The time when our grandpas and great-grandpas lived. They have few to no complications. Sizing is also smaller than what we see in modern watches. The watches were just thinner and overall smaller. This 36 would maybe even be considered large. This 36 millimeter I'm wearing. The watches are retro. They're tool watches. They're classic. I did my absolute best to exclude pilot watches from the video. Didn't want to include any of them. That's a totally separate category. Although it certainly shares some of the aesthetics of traditional field watches, they're just different. Field watches and pilot watches are different, in my humble opinion. Even though I say that, multiple of you viewers requested the Zen 556A, so I suppose that's one exception. That one is only 39 millimeters, so I understand the case people are making for that one to be included. And yeah, we're not going to find a ton of tiny watches on the market. There just aren't that many. All right, here's some bullet points on the philosophy. In the series, I value reliability of the watch. Accuracy, shock protection, robustness. I suppose shock protection is robustness. Magnetism protection, water resistance, case and crystal materials, strap attachment mechanism, whether it's spring bars versus permanent lug bars. The permanent lug bars are more robust, lightweight, vintage looks, simple design, good dial format, traditional dial format, smaller sizing. I mentioned 36 to 39 is my golden window. I think that's ideal. Thinness. So that's a short synopsis to give you a flavor of what distinguishes traditional field watches, at least in my imagination. Because, yeah, those traditional ones didn't have good water resistance, but you know what? They should have good water resistance. They would have wanted them to if they had the technology back in the 40s and 30s and stuff. In that 2024 video, I really didn't know what to do with the Rolex Explorers, Tudor Rangers, those types of watches. I really do think those watches are more Gata, go anywhere, do anything, than traditional. And that's fine. They perform well as Gata watches. They switch hit, being good for the job interview, graduation, wedding ceremony, and also good for the Saturday outdoor stuff, hiking, fishing, etc. Bracelets were king in the Gata watch series. Rolex Explorer belongs on a bracelet, in my opinion. Yeah, sure, you can put it on a NATO, but, go to the wedding ceremony, it's going to be on that bracelet. That's where it's at home. And also, I needed a place for the digital watches to call home. But they're not traditional. You're not going to see Charlie Chaplin wearing a G-Shock. That's totally anachronistic. So I explored that watch type in military tactical. And today is the traditional layout. Vintage, simple, trying to find the best old school field watch. Watches that would fit in with what soldiers were issued 90 years ago. It's better if it doesn't have a date complication. In the perfect world, the field watches would have no dates. That's my opinion. I know some of you love your date complications. I've read the comments. And I do appreciate the feedback. I like date complications too. Date complications make a lot of sense on some watches, but it's really more of an everyday Gata type of aesthetic. But don't be worried. It's actually only a 2-point penalty on the scoring system. So I promise there's going to be watches with date complications in the top 10. It's not going to be a big enough difference to exclude those ones entirely. Robustness is super important because the use case of the field watch is that it's supposed to endure rugged conditions outside, be able to withstand things you're going to encounter in the field, chopping firewood, banging it into rocks and stuff, kicking around in the mountains, whatever you're doing. It needs to be rugged. So the shock resistance, the water resistance, strong materials, all that stuff. For the traditional field watch, NATO straps or Zulus, this is Zulu. Zulu's just a single pass-through. Those are king. That's what you want. Gotta watch bracelet was king. Traditional field watch, NATO straps are king. The purpose of these videos that I make is to give a more methodical, subjective analysis to the watches on the market. Another objective is just to look at a ton of different options. I think people appreciate that there's just a ton of watches in these videos. You know, you're gonna see a bunch of watches you've never seen before. The analysis is very valuable, but you don't have to take it so seriously. You know, even in my own watch buying decisions, I've made choices to buy watches that don't always have the tightest specs because I like the aesthetics so much. It's much more emotional based, you know, what resonates with you rather than specs on a page. Not every choice in life is perfectly logical and well-reasoned, and that's especially true in regard to watch purchases. But it is really interesting to see what bubbles up when you do an analysis like this. You know, some of the more well-known watches don't make the grade because they have poor specs. And then there's other watches that really excel above other watches despite not being very well known. And when you look at specs like this, you see things like, you know, with Timex, for example, they have options that are really, really good, that will score really high, and other options that are super lackluster. They have winners and big losers. Actually, the one in last place, in 80th place, is a Timex. And they have one near the top, too. There's wide variation. You know, some of them have a screw-down crown, some have push-pull. Some have 200 meters water resistance, some have only 30 meters water resistance. Those things make a big difference in the scoring. So I wanted to objectively evaluate all the features, specifications of the watches on the market, find out if they're sleepers, or if popular watches are overrated. And I guess I already said this, I found out that's true. Some of the really hyped watches don't do as well. And then there's some sleepers you've never heard of that are really awesome. So you have that to look forward to. In this video, you're gonna see some hot takes. And it's based on indisputable specs, mostly. In this video series, I will rate watches you've heard of, such as the Rolex Explorer, Longines Spirit, Tudor Ranger, Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic, Christopher Ward C65, Zinn 556A that you guys wanted, Marathon GPQ, the CWC G10. I'll also rate watches you probably haven't heard of, such as the Techne General Purpose, the Woolbrook Outrider, the Newmark 52, the Kentex JG-SDF Standard, Redwood Kilroy, Seal Hyperlight, the Archimede Outdoor, and many more. So that was the philosophy. You want rugged, simple, vintage, reliable, lightweight, thin. I'm definitely beating a dead horse here listing all these things. So let's go on to the methodology. I've been talking about this the whole time, but you know, to make things more objective, I developed a scoring system to rate the watches in the different price categories. The bottom line up front is that the scoring system helps balance competing desires. You want the watch strong, but you want it light. You know, steel is very strong, but it's also heavy. Plastic is really light, but it's also weak. So the hypothetical best material to make your watch out of would be a material that's lighter and it's strong. You want light and strong. So those type of materials will score higher than steel or plastic when all things are considered. So that's what I mean by competing desires. One of the big things I learned is that bracelets add a ton of weight to watches. So bracelets are sort of double penalized because they don't get the aesthetic right, they're not as robust, they're not a pass-through, and they're really heavy. As always, the results of the scoring system totally match expectations. The really well-known field watches perform really well. There are a few surprises, both good and bad, and you'll see those. If you want my full detailed overview of the scoring system, I covered that last week in the preview video, so I won't replay it right now. I didn't want to make this video too long. Maybe it's already too long. But if you want all the details on the scoring system, all the details on the bonuses and penalties used in the scorecard, follow the link in the description and you can check out my full overview of the scoring system. But now I think we're ready to dive into the watches. Let's do that now. Now we'll look at watches in 6th place all the way down through 80th place. Here's the chart indicating the scores that the watches received, you know, with letter grades. And yes, technically the middle of it's kind of in the C area, but the biggest spike is the B grade. That's kind of surprising. Overall, 43 of the watches in this price range are good grade watches. 26% are just okay, and then 31% not recommended. Don't get them. And some of them you can swap the strap and so forth, get them up to recommended. Just out of the box, this is what's available on the market, under 180 bucks. That's my determination. As in that earlier field watch video, as we go up in price, you see they get worse. Like the top tier price range, the premium price range, there's going to be more over here in the reds. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it works out with field watches, traditional field watches. They're not that complicated. They don't need to be all that expensive. But yeah, I'm going to start with the one in 6th place, go down to the bottom, and then finish with the top 5. So let's do that now. In 6th place is the Militato ML08 Murph. Yes, it's a ripoff of the Hamilton Murph. $69, 38 millimeters, 10.2 thick. Good size. It's a great size. It's in my golden window for diameter, and it's nice and thin. That's excellent. It has a screw down crown, 100 meters water resistance, very traditional look to it. NATO strap, it's steel. There's no brand strength to Militato. That's the only red we're seeing on the scorecard. And it's a Mecha Quartz movement. Mecha Quartz is sweet. You get a sweeping second hand, but then you get the robustness of a quartz movement. I really like that. Let's take a look at that lume. The lume is not the highest. It does not have indexes indicated. It does not have a second hand either. So it's not ideal lume. Certainly passable. Certainly could be worse. Yeah, this is a good option, and only $69. Militato is definitely one to look at in the low price range. It does have the British broad arrow, which I know that bothers some people because it's not British, it's Chinese. So how can you put the British broad arrow on a Chinese watch? Well, they did it. Yeah, that's my number 6, score of 87. 7th place is the San Martin SN0137G. Only $158 right now. I think that's a low price. I think they're trying to get rid of them or something. I don't know. 38 across, 11.4 thick. A little bit thicker than that last one by a little over a millimeter due to the automatic movement. But for a Seiko NH35 watch, this is not crazy by any means. It is 100 meters. It does have that screw down crown. It's cool. Some people call this an H shape watch case. Very traditional dial format. I think the green looks really cool too, the olive green. It's looking funky, it's looking retro. The NATO strap is a solid one. You get more brand strength with San Martin than with other Chinese watches. They're more well known. Lume is looking really cool. The blue is a little dim. That looks like it's going to fade quickly. But I love when they mix colors. It seems like Chinese watches are doing this a lot more lately, doing more impressive lume. This one looks good. No date complication or anything. Get your military Arabics on the dial. 13 through 24. Really excellent. Total score of 86. 8th place, the one on my wrist, the MacGyver watch. It's the Timex Vietnam Camper TW2 T33 700. $80 is what I paid. You get them on eBay. That's where you get them because they're JDM or something. They're not available in the US, but you can just buy it on eBay. It's really not a big deal. We're in a global marketplace. It's plastic. Oh, I didn't finish the specs. 36 millimeters, 10 millimeters thick. So it's very thin. It's very retro. It feels so good to wear it. Some complaints. I did a review of this, by the way. The crown should not be silver. That's an eyesore for sure. 50 meters is not great. They show a little water on here. It's more water resistant than 30. It could be better for sure. No date complication or anything. That's great. The strap is really comfortable. It's super thin, super light. It's a cool watch. I took this picture. This is a picture of this lume. I took it right the second after I charged it up fully with a UV. In practice, the lume is pretty poor. And the pattern is not great either. There's no numbers or anything. This is our first wild card. When we go to the final runoff, the Thunderdome, I'm going to take the top 5 from each price category as well as wild card. And I didn't distribute all the wild cards. I only distributed some of them. So if you guys like a particular watch, please let me know and I will add it to the final runoff. So I have more wild cards to distribute. And I can move them around too. But I intend this one to make it to the final runoff. I really enjoy it. And on this scoring system revamp, it's actually doing very well. I mentioned in the scoring system, the water resistance penalties were a little bit lessened in this one versus the old series because that's not the only thing. And seriously, traditional field watches didn't have that high water resistance. This would probably outperform the really traditional ones. But yeah, I certainly like this watch. And it has a very quiet tick. Most Timex watches will blow your eardrums out. This one, you can't hear it on the nightstand. You have to hold it really close to the ear to hear it. So I'm a big fan of this particular watch. Score of 86. 9th place is the Timex Field Post Solar. $169, 36 across, 12 thick. It's thicker than this one. It does have a solar movement. This is the first solar one we've seen. Solar is really good. You don't have to worry about battery changes. That's There's a penalty for battery changes. You get the robustness of the quartz. It's really awesome. This one has more water resistance than the MacGyver. I like the MacGyver better, but this one's thicker. So everything's a balance, as I mentioned earlier. The lume on this is very poor. They say they have lume indexes on the spec sheet. It's not coming through on this lume shot though. So it maybe even needs a bigger penalty here because those indexes, if they're there at all, are very dim and no second lume. The Vietnam camper has second lume at least. So that was my 9th place. 10th place is the Escapement Time SR 920SW. 81 bucks, great price, 38 across, 11 thick. It's steel, that's really nice. Brand strength is virtually non-existent, so no subjective bonus points here. Super traditional looking. I really like their logo. I think that looks good. This one has a mecha quartz movement as well, so sweeping seconds. That's going to be so much nicer than the ticking seconds, the deadbeat seconds. Lume, it looks pretty darn similar to the one on my wrist, just bare bones lume. But you do get second hand, that's nice. Total score of 86. 11th place is the Alba Titanium AQPJ 403. They have some different models, the 401, they have, different water resistance and stuff. This is the 403, it's titanium, full lume. It is 61 bucks only. How's it so cheap? 38 across, 10.6 thick, that's it. Really cool black hands. I didn't know about this watch until a few days ago, honestly. I'm going to spill the beans. It scores higher than the Lorus Lumibrite. I think this one's better. It's a better full lume field watch than the Lorus Lumibrite. Got your crown guards. Titanium. How is it only 61 bucks? I'm still just baffled. It is only a fabric strap. It's not a pass-through. It kind of looks like it's passing through. But supposedly, it's just a fabric strap, not a pass-through. You could obviously pop it on pass-through, get 5 more points. It'd be in the top 5 if it was on a NATO strap or a Zulu strap. So this one is solid, and it will be a wild card for sure. Get a date, which is penalized, -3. Let's look at that lume. Heck yeah, that is awesome. Really cool looking lume on this one. This might be the steel one on the screen, but it's the same lume as for the titanium one. Yeah, slightly different dial format. Just wanted to show you what the actual full lume looks like on an Alba watch. Just awesome. In terms of traditional vibe, it's not a 10 out of 10. Doesn't look totally traditional, but it is very traditional. I covered that in the scoring system, how I did the vibe. It's a very methodical approach. This one got 7 out of 10. Pretty high. Total score of 85. 12th place, a watch that did really well in the military watch series. Timex Expedition Camper. 53 bucks, 38 across, 10.5 thick. It's a plastic watch. They call it resin. Push-pull crown, unfortunately. You do get some kind of crown guards, minimal crown guards here. Coolest thing about Timexes, in my opinion, is the Indiglow. Not a great picture of it, but that's what Indiglow looks like. It's just this pleasant glow. You just tap on that crown and it glows. So you couldn't do that with a screw-down crown. That's not a possibility with the way they do their Indiglows. It is on a Zulu strap. The vibes are not very traditional, but it's got some good specs. Score of 85. 13th place at the top of the price range is the KHS Inceptor. 175 bucks, so really stretching that. 46 across. That is the biggest downside to this one. It is too big for a field watch. It is 10.5 thick. I did choose it as a wild card because it is so striking, so good looking. This is very high quality. I love the look of this thing. It's very fresh. Lume is decent, not great. There's no second lume. The listed weight is 133 grams. Is that right? That seems crazy to me. Oh, it's a 46 millimeter. It's only 10.5 thick. That seems high to me, but that's what they say that it weighs. So I guess we'll trust them on that. This is the first watch we've seen with a Faraday cage. Even though it's a quartz movement, they have a Faraday cage, and that definitely gives it a bonus. One of the reasons it made it to 13th place. Score of 84. 14th place is the Bertucci DX3 Compass. 85 bucks, 40 millimeters across, 11 thick. This is their least robust one they make. It's only 50 meters water resistance. It has a push-pull crown. Otherwise, it has things that Bertucci does great. The recessed mineral crystal, the fixed lug bars. Bertucci does that right, where so many other watches don't get it. So they've got robustness in mind. I don't understand why it's only 50 meters water resistance. And it comes with that compass, which is nice. Just a clip-on compass. Lume is passable, but not great. No Arabic markings. I gave it kind of okay traditional vibe. It's still not a 10 out of 10, obviously. Score of 84. 15th is the Millifortic M060 Field Watch. $81, 38 across, only 8.6 thick, so very thin watch. It has a mecha quartz with the dirty dozen small seconds. In the Field Watch video I did a year and a half ago, for some reason I had it out for the small seconds. I've since changed my mind. The purpose of the small seconds is actually to make it easier to read the primary time. This actually aids in that. So there's no penalty anymore for small seconds. I took the penalty away. Small seconds is actually a really cool complication. The lume on this, like I was saying with the San Martin, Chinese watches are starting to do really good lume. This looks so cool. I love the blue mixed with the green. I'm a huge fan of that. Excellent lume. Total score of 84. 16th place is the Boderry Voyager Titanium Field. $97, 40 across, 12 thick. Clearly inspired or ripping off Bertucci. They do things a little different. The lugs are different. I really like Boderry. I would love to get my hands on one. It's only $97. I probably should. I make shorts that are just cuts of these longer videos, and this particular one, the Boderry Voyager, has a ton of views. There's a lot of interest in this watch, that's for sure. And with good reason. It's 100 meters water resistance, screw down crown, titanium case. I said no crown guards? It has crown guards. Well, I apologize. This should probably have a couple more points. I will fix that. Let me write myself a note. I think that's 2 points. I'm trying to find one with crown guards and one without. Yeah, that would be a couple more points. So it would be an 85. I'll fix that for the final runoff and everything. I go through all these scorecards twice, but still sometimes I miss things. But yeah, the weight is going to be really nice since it's on titanium. You know, maybe 70 grams or something on the strap. That's sweet. Traditional vibe, it only got 8 out of 10. The dial format's actually really excellent. I think it's the case that's holding it back. This is definitely a good one. Let's look at the lume. Lume is great. It's all one color. It would be cool if it was multiple colors, but I do like this. Nice big lollipop on the second hand, so you'll be able to see that. And the counterbalance is lume too. They put a lot of lume on the watch. That's going to be nice. The numbers are pretty big, so those probably last a long time. I actually like a 4 o'clock date. And I like how they have the railroad track interrupted with triangles and then the minute markings. It's just excellent. It's really, really excellent. There's definitely a Boderry Voyager in my future. This is a sweet watch. Score of 83. And this is one a viewer told me about. It's the Kentex JGSDF Standard. It's $96 only, 38.5 across, 11 millimeters thick. You can see the Japanese flag right there. It even says Japan right there. It is a quartz watch. Nice crown guards. It does only have a push-pull crown though. Comes on a nylon strap that's not a pass-through. Score higher if it was a pass-through. Does have that date complication. This grid pattern is really interesting. They've got a lot of interesting stuff on the dial. I really like that. Could not find a lume shot though. These watches are kind of obscure, and so I just can't find lume shots for the Kentexes. Total score of 83. 18th place is the Cooper Pathfinder. $76, 38 across, 10 millimeters thick. It does have a recessed crystal, recessed mineral crystal. That's the best in my opinion. It's a quartz movement, just a regular quartz, so you'll see ticking. I like the railroad track, the little dots, and then you have lines at the quadrants. I like these little triangles. That does take away from the score though, because traditionally you want to see all the numbers. So that lost it some points. But otherwise it's pretty darn rugged. It's in that golden window for size. 10 millimeters thin is very excellent. It's a better size than that Boderry. Nice crown guards. Lume is really good on this one as well. They loomed all this stuff, the triangles, second hand. It looks good. Nice thick hour hand that makes for longer lasting lume. So this is a great option as well. There's a lot of really good Chinese field watch options. I think they get it better than a lot of the other brands. The Japanese brands don't totally get it. Well, except for Kentex. I'm saying Seiko, Citizen. They don't really make a watch like this. Not with this good of specs. There's one Seiko that does really well, and we'll see that. I think that's in the quality price tier, $180 to $375. That's where we'll see that Seiko. Total score of 83. 19th place is the Tandorio Titanium. I don't have the model number. Sorry about that. They only make a few different watches that look like this. There's a steel one and a titanium one. This is the titanium. $102, kind of a lot. 36 across. Priced higher than their competition. 36 millimeters across. 12.4 thick. So it's thicker. That's, the automatic movement. It's 200 meters water resistance. That's the other reason it's thicker. I think that's a little excessive. And that's the balance. So yes, there's a bonus for 200 meters water resistance, screw down crown, but then there's penalty because the thickness, and then it also adds the weight. They put the broad arrow on there again. Shouldn't be doing that, guys. Apparently you can get a green one as well. I could not find a lume shot. Per description, all this stuff is lumed. The indexes and the Arabics are lumed, and the hands, but I couldn't find a good shot of it. Score of 83. 20th place is another really cool one. It's the Sestrian Chester Field Watch. $136, 40 millimeters across, 12 thick. It's got that shiny bezel that really doesn't get the aesthetic right for a field watch. It's modeled after the Hamilton khaki for sure. They did a few different things to it to make it stand out. You know, the orange highlight on the second, the loomed second hand, for example. But it's heavily inspired by the Hamilton. The numbers are different. They've got this cool chopped off ones. I like that. They've got some cool colors, the blue, the green. It is a sunburst though. I'm not a fan of sunbursts personally. Maybe the black sunburst is okay. It's just a quirk of mine. Here's the lume render. It looks pretty darn good. Consult a real review if you want to know how long the lume lasts. But I will include this as a wild card. I like this better than the Hamilton khaki, for sure. Score of 82. 21st place is the Redune G10. A lot of things are called G10. It's $59, 34.5 millimeters across, 11 thick. Very good traditional size. The thickness, a lot of it has to do with the bubble crystal on the top. It's got a high bubble, I guess similar to my Timex that I'm wearing. Very traditional looking, matte black dial. That is so much better than some sunburst thing. Really nice printing, in my opinion. Just very traditional printing with the rounded numbers, rounded simple numbers. It looks so good. Only $59. There's so many good watches really that are really cheap. Comes on a cool looking Zulu strap, sort of like a Tudor would do. No brand strength, obviously, for Redune. The lume is lackluster. The second is fully lumed. That looks really cool. It's clearly some other type of lume though, so it may fade quickly. But I do like that. That's pretty cool. Would have been nice if the numbers were lumed too. It's a solid choice, especially if you're looking for really small. It's one of the few ones that's smaller than 35 millimeters across. You won't see very many of those at all. Score of 82. The famed, the beloved Lorus Lumibrite. 37 millimeters across, 9 millimeters thick. And yeah, I like the Alba better. Alba has better printing. This is weird. The numbers are very, very thin. It's also very yellow. Let me show you the Alba again. All right, here's that Alba. Huge difference. Look at how bold the numbers are. How simple everything is. The Lorus in comparison just looks kind of shabby to me. My personal opinion. Also very yellow looking. It is thinner though. It's only 9 millimeters thick. That's really nice. 37 across. Crown guards, push-pull crown. Here's a picture of the Lumibrite. It's going to look great in the dark. That is its thing. It looks so cool in the dark. I really like that. You can get the score up by swapping it to a pass-through strap. Definitely a good option. I mean, these are good grades. There's a lot of good grades in this price tier. This is one of the really good ones. I prefer the Alba. Just looking at them side to side, I think the Alba's better. Score of 82. 23rd place, it surprised me it got so high, is the 511 Pathfinder. $95, 42 across, 10.8 thick. Lume is so bad on this. I don't have a lume shot, but let's look at the dial. The only things that are lumed are the quadrants. You do get second lume, but it's quadrants only. That's not good. We make a tan one. I think the black looks slightly better. PVD steel case, push-pull crown, crown guards. There's no date on it. That's good. Not particularly traditional. It's only 6 out of 10, in my opinion, for traditional field watch. Does have a recessed crystal. That's nice. Most watches have a protruding crystal. This one has recessed, so that's excellent. Score of 82. All right, another Kentex. 24th place is the Kentex JSDF Classic. Oh, it says JGDSF. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, the image is too blurry, but it's something ground self-defense force or something. I don't know. Japanese ground self-defense force. Maybe that's what that stands for. Really cool case. Just this cushion case. I call it a recessed crown. That gets the same score as crown guards. Crown is fully protected there. It is a push-pull crown, unfortunately. It's only a quartz movement. Nice and thin though, only 8.8 and 36 millimeters across. So these are great dimensions. A little bit pricier, but... And Kentex is not a brand that's well known in America, I don't think. They make some cool watches though. I'm glad somebody pointed them out to me. Their logo is absolutely cool. You know, with the, is that a cherry blossom? Lotus flower? Something like that. Looks really cool. made in Japan. Could not find the lume shop for the Kentex. Score of 81. 25th place is the Military Watch Company MWC G10 LM. So no date on this. Definitely, they make a lot of different types of watches. So this stuff is important here. 116 bucks, 35 only across, 11 thick. Very traditional size. I like that. Only 50 meters water resistance though. Push-pull crown. Very similar to the CWC, which is more expensive. I really do like how plain it is. It's very retro. These guys do retro military watches. They issue them to soldiers. They have contracts with Department of Defense. Here's the lume, just loomed indexes, no Arabics. But you get the triangle at the 12, so that's nice. Total score of 81. 26th place is the Redwood Field V3. 179 bucks, right at the top. Just a hair below the top of this price range. 40 millimeters across, 10.7. They're going for the Rolex Explorer style, minimalist. So that certainly hurts it. That's why it's not higher. Because the specs otherwise are good. You know, it's got solar quartz, movement, 100 meters screw down crown. The quartz has anti-shock, just built in because it's quartz. NATO strap. So solid, other than the fact that the dial format is poor. I can't tell if this matches. I hope it does. I don't like when the crowns don't match the case. Lume is going to be solid on this because you've got thick applications of that lume. It's really nice. I do like Redwood. They're a Canadian company. They make some cool watches for sure. Very plain railroad tracks. Would have been nice to see thicker marks, you know, at the hour marks, but they didn't do that. They wanted it to be more streamlined. It looks cool. It's not as tooly though. Score of 81. 27th place is the Baltony Dirty Dozen S2032. 121 bucks, 39 millimeters across, 11.9 thick. Again, stealing the British broad arrow. So it's a Dirty Dozen, so you get the small seconds. It's just a regular quartz though. With that small seconds, you're not going to be able to tell so much though. I like the 9 that's not fully connected. That vintage 9. That's very nice. The 5 looks cool too, how it's angled. So the numbers are nice on this. The lume is fantastic. Fully loomed secondhand. The lume is a standout on this Baltony. They do make some other colors. They have a blue one. They have a white one. That's really nice. No date or anything. Very cool watch. Penalized for being on a leather strap, but you could change that if you wanted to. Score of 81. 28th is the Lorus RG875C X9. You're going to need all that to find this thing, and you might find Lumibrites when you're looking for the green one. I think it's the same as the Lumibrite, but it's just the green version. 123 bucks. It's 37 across, 8 millimeters thick. Yeah, some very dull looking titanium. Clearly the crown is a different metal, probably steel. So those look a little bit discordant. You do get a date window. It's chopping the 3 a little bit. You do get military Arabics, missing the 15. That's okay. But per description, only the hands are loomed. You don't get lume on anything else. So that's unfortunate. Total score of 81. 29th place is the Thorn A11 SHY034. 126 bucks, 36 millimeters across. Very thick, 13.9. That is not good. The thickness is an issue on this one, in my opinion. But it's got a huge bubble crystal. Gigantic dome to this crystal. I really like the spade hour hand. That looks so good. Apparently the crystal is sapphire. It's going to be reflective as all get out. It's going to be super reflective. Domed sapphire crystals reflect everything in the planet. So they had to work hard to get a picture where you could see it this well. I'm sure they have something black above it to help with the photo. Canvas strap. Great lume on this one as well. Looks like there's 2 different types of lume for the indexes and the numbers, but it looks really cool. Oh, no second lume. That's not ideal, but decent lume for sure. Nice grippy crown. Seems good. And it is 200 meters water resistance. It's probably why it's so thick. Score of 80. 30th place, the last of the good grade watches, is the Timex Expedition Metal T49870. The metal they're referring to is brass. It's a brass metal, probably coated to look like steel. Only 60 bucks, 37 across, only 9 millimeters thick. Great size. Excellent size for a field watch. Timex knows what they're doing with field watches. They make so many field watches. This is one of the really good ones. It does have Indiglow. Here's a picture of that Indiglow. I think this is the wide dial version, but the darker dial versions look really nice too. Got the date, if you love a date. Bright red seconds, that's nice. And it's Indiglow, so you don't need lume on a second hand when it's Indiglow. You actually don't need lume on the hands at all. They could just do steel hands. Nobody ever does that for some reason. But, well, okay, some watches do that. They didn't do that. I think that would have looked cool just to have plain steel. The white probably helps with the contrast though. Really cool looking watch, only 60 bucks. Score of 80. And now we're in the okay grade watches. You know, I think you're best off sticking with the good grade watches, but we've got okay grade watches. I can still say they're suitable field watches, but not the best. We start with the Ratio Quest in 31st place, only 49 bucks. It is kind of large though, 43.4 across, only 9.1 thick, so it's nice and thin. Quartz, as most of these have been, quartz scores better than automatic for numerous reasons. It only has loomed hands. It appears that the second hand is fully loomed, but yeah, you only get lume on these hands, so lume is poor. They make some other fun colors, apparently a bright green one. Oh yeah, I know what the bright green one looks like. No real brand strength ratio. I thought they got the traditional vibe really well on this. It's more of a modern font, but I think they still have the vibe pretty darn well. The date is kind of an eyesore. It'd be better with no date. Score is 79. 32nd place is the Naval Watch, mil.-01B, US Force, is what the US Force wears, apparently. It's 105 bucks, 38 millimeters across, 11.5, totally normal size. It's only 50 meters push-pull crown. It's got a lot of other things that just hold it back. Plug all the stuff in, it just doesn't score as well as some of the other ones that look very darn similar. It's got the radiation symbol. That's kind of interesting. I don't think it's radioactive, but you know, traditional field watches often had that symbol for the radium lume they had inside. Or the tritium paint. Somebody correct my historical ignorance for why the radiation symbol's on some of these. Swiss movement, wow. It's just probably a Ronda quartz. Lume is decent on this thing for sure. Get your Arabics and the indexes. Nice big lollipop on the second. And the end of the second hand is loomed. That's all nice. Score 79. Cool option. 33rd is the Tandorio steel. We saw the Tandorio titanium. This is the same darn watch, but in the steel version. It's probably the same specs. Probably the only difference is the steel versus the titanium. They say 56 grams. That seems low to me. That seems really low, especially with the strap. And the strap can be like 12 grams. So they probably didn't include the strap. Couldn't find the lume shot, just like the other Tandorio. They don't have it on the product listing. And nobody's taken a picture that I could find searching on Google. Per product description, the hour and minute are loomed, as well as indexes and Arabics, but no second hand. Total score of 79. All right, 34th place. This one did pretty well in the military watch series. And it's the Casio Forester. Only 36 bucks. It's 42 across. It looks small on the screen for some reason. Well, it looks small on the wrist of a guy I know who has this exact watch, but he is a very large man. The watch looks a little small on him. It probably won't look small on me or other people. Very large man, like I said. But very cool watch. It has a backlight, but it's not like Indiglo. It's just this shining light on it. It'll still get the job done. There's a bonus for backlight for sure, because that's more consistent than traditional lume. It's got that little bonus. It does have crown guards, little minimalist crown guards here. It's totally a decent option. Score 79. 35th place, the Addies Dive AD 2070. 94 bucks only. 39 across, 12 millimeters thick. Similar to the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic, absolutely. Taking that DNA. They lopped off the point on the end of the hour hand. It is a cool look. Walbrook does this, so that's probably where Addies Dive got the idea. The 9 is looking kind of stencily. I guess the 6 too. And interestingly, they made the 1269 larger than the other numbers. It does give it a different look. Actually, Walbrook does that too. I think these guys are just copying Walbrook. I do like that the bezel does appear to be brushed rather than polished. That makes it a little bit more tooly. But then they have this leather strap. It'd be a good grade watch on a NATO strap. It's got the date complication. Rather see that gone, but it's okay. It's cool that they put red around it, and I love the red tip on the second hand. Lume is pretty good on this watch. You get second lume. These big numbers are all loomed. No indexes though. Score of 78. 36th place, a watch that people hound me about is the Boderry Landmaster. Yes, it has tritium tubes, and it's only 149 bucks. 38 millimeters across, 13 thick. I'll show you the tritium tubes now. Here they are. This is one with blue tritium, looking fantastic. For those not in the know, the tritium tubes glow for like 15 years before you have to replace them. The glass tubes are colored, and then you have tritium inside, gas, tritium gas, that excites I don't know how it works exactly, like chemically or whatever, but the tritium is radioactive. There's not enough in here to harm anybody. If you were to break all these tubes open, you'd be fine. They have a mix of traditional lume as well. These are really cool. The Landmaster is a cool watch. I'm not denying that. People get it confused though. They say, oh, the Boderry Voyager has tritium now. It does not. Boderry Voyager GMT was in a Kickstarter. I think it still is. That one has tritium. The regular Boderry Voyager does not have tritium yet. This one does though, the Landmaster. Cool watch. Very dark titanium. It's got a pilot crown, you know, a diamond crown here. That's out of place for a field watch for sure. It looks cool though. Definitely a neat watch. I like it. Score 36. 37th place, the Timex Weekender. I don't think it was passing on the last scoring system. It's definitely passing on this one. The 30 meters water resistance. I had some absurd penalty in the last video, minus 25 or something. It severely limits how high up this thing can get that it has 30 meters water resistance. You know, it is a big penalty. But it's solid in just about everything else. You've got the Zulu strap. You've got the Indiglow. The Indiglow is so nice. Very pretty backlight. No complaints there. Fantastic shot, too. Whoever took this did a great job. There's no date on it. It's just very simple. It's a cool watch. Only 57 bucks. The mineral crystal is recessed. It's got a lot going for it. I really do like Timex. They're a great watch brand. It's thin. It's a good option. Not very traditional. I only gave it 5 out of 10 traditional points. I don't think it's super traditional looking, but it is a cool watch and it fulfills the use case of a traditional field watch. Absolutely. More sophisticated, less military looks to it. Score 78. 38th place is the Baltony W10. It's 158 bucks. It's 36, probably left to right, and 13 millimeters thick. It's kind of rounded, cushiony case. I really do like these numbers. It's very cool. They have a color match date. That's probably the first color match date we've seen. That is preferable to a white background date when you have a black dial. I think it gets a point for the fact that it's color match. Lume, insane. Great lume. Now this isn't the exact model. This one has a no date. So they must make this in a no date version. That would be the one to get. Fully loomed second hand is cool. I do like the mix of colors. Gigantic numbers. Again, stealing the British Broad Arrow. It is on the thicker side, unfortunately. And that's due to the automatic movement. Seiko NH35, most likely. Score 78. 39th place is the Spadal Scrub Glow Watch. 70 bucks, 38 across, 9.3 thick. Supposedly a watch for nurses. Yeah, it'd be great for a nurse to wear. If you just want a basic watch. They have the minute Arabics, nice and big. All these numbers are there. If you like an analog watch, this is excellent for a nurse. The lume is really nice on it, the backlight. I can't tell if these are hollowed out, the hands, or if there's lume on the hands. Yeah, this looks like a slightly different model, actually. That's what the Spadal backlight looks like. Good size? Not a lot to complain about. The silicone strap is not ideal. Although, if you're a nurse, silicone is easier to clean than some fabric straps, so I could see why they would prefer that. Cool option. Score of 78. 40th place is the Timex Expedition Sierra. $89. It's 40 across. It's 11 thick. Very pleasing color combination here. I love the lighter blue with the darker blue. If you've watched these before, you know I like subtle color choices. You know, when they have colors that are just slightly different, complementary colors, and then they have the blue on the second. It's really excellent what they did here. A lot of thought went into this. Yeah, they've got the grooves here. It's very reminiscent of the Hamilton khaki that has grooves, like a record. This one, unfortunately, is 50 meters water resistance push-pull crown. Not great. Although, in this video, I decided not to penalize that as much as I did in the last one. And it excels in so many other areas. It's got that backlight. That's going to be really excellent. The Indiglow is really nice. And I love that it's on the crown. You don't have to have some button on the side or whatever. It's preserves the case shape that we're all used to. I like this one a lot, although I'd prefer no date for traditional field watch. Score of 77. 41st place is the Timex Expedition Scout. 65 bucks, 40 millimeters across, 11 thick. I like the yellow. That looks really cool. The date is strangely tiny. That's odd. Why is it so small? Cool looking watch. Nice color even. It's just kind of this muted steel. Only 50 meters push-pull. This Timex is only 50 meters. I haven't had any problems with it. Not going to dive in the pool with it though. It'd probably get wrecked. Does have a backlight. That's really nice. There's that Indiglow backlight. Looking so good. It'd be nice if the hands were, well, no, this is good. I like this. Darn decent field watch. Score 77. Okay, great. 42nd place is the Xanto Military Field Watch. SC 1003. 129 bucks, 40 across, 10.9 thick. There's something three-dimensional here. It's looking really cool. Like the sword hands, it is a little bit more piloty. Field watch usually has the syringe hands or the fence post hands. That's okay. It's field watch size, 40 millimeters on the larger side for traditional. Still reasonable. Cool canvas strap. I like the PVD. Small seconds, although there's no markings down here. So you can't count seconds. Don't try to count seconds on this, which is too bad. You do want to be able to count seconds in the field. There's several uses for that. Knowing the distance of a storm, checking your pulse, that kind of stuff. You can't do it with this. Lume is decent. They did lume the second hand. It is a quartz watch, so even without the markings, you could count the clicks. You could wait till the second gets exactly to 60 or whatever and count your 15 seconds to do the pulse. Not as useful for detecting distance of a thunderstorm or artillery shells. I do like that there's no date. It's a cool watch. Score 77. 43rd place is the Casio MTPS 120L-3AV. $145, 42 across, 10.9. It's kind of large. It's not really getting the traditional vibe. It does have solar power, solar quartz, but it doesn't mention lume on the spec sheet, and I couldn't find any lume shots, so there's no lume on this watch. It's a day date. More modern aesthetics to this. The green is pretty cool looking. I do like that. Score 77. 44th is the cheaper Spadel, the Spadel Solar. So you can get backlight or you can get solar, or you can just get regular. I can't remember if regular's in this video. It would score lower than either of the other two. But this is just the solar version. No lume on it, unfortunately. Very thin though, only 7.8. Super thin. One of the thinnest watches. The case is made of zinc alloy rather than steel. Yeah, the backlight one was made of steel and it had a backlight. So I would go with the backlight one. This is an option though if you want the solar power. Score 76, C grade in the classroom. Not top of the class. 45th place is the Alba AQP J409. $24 only. Super cheap. 36.6 cross, 9.6 thick. So great size, traditional size. 100 meters, push-pull crown, so more water resistance than a lot of these other ones. But it's plastic, and it's got the fabric strap, and the day date. I do like the blue and the yellow, that's nice. They also make a black one, a green one, a white one. Albas seem really nice, actually. We don't really see Albas in America, but it's the age of the internet. You could buy Albas. Really not very expensive. Could not find a lume shot, unfortunately. Score 76. The smallest watch in the video, 46th place, is the Timex Expedition Field Mini. And it is mini. It's $89, 26 across. So they marketed it as unisex, but 26 is going to be so tiny. Brass case coated with something so it looks like steel, but it's actually brass. Plugged in all the specs and it's a C grade. It's going to have the Indiglow, so that's nice. So suppose it's suitable. If you really want a tiny one, you just want a tiny watch, you can go with the Mini. Score 75. 47th place is the Henry's Durable Field Watch. It's a $5 watch they're charging $95 for. But, 42 millimeters, 7 thick, 30 meters water resistance, push-pull crown. It's just going to be the cheapest darn watch. But you're paying a lot for it for some reason. There's all these AI images on the site, all these AI reviews. Oh, this watch is the best thing. It changed my life. That's what you'll get with this one. It's full lume. This is the full lume version, but I could not find a lume shot. Score 75. 48th place is the Baltony Field Auto. $159, 39 across, 12.2. So it's not the cheapest Hamilton khaki homage. It also doesn't look very good to me. The printing looks kind of bad. I think it's the blue sunburst. I just can't get past the blue sunburst. And they're really copying the Hamilton closer than some of the other ones do. It's pretty much the same as the Hamilton, but thicker, of course. Hamilton is thinner. I do like that it's only $39. That's great. Leather strap, very similar to Hamilton, how Hamilton does. Lume is decent, not great. Same as the Hamilton, no lume on the second hand. Score 74. 49th place, looking like a robot would wear it or something. The Nixon Scout. Very futuristic. Instead of military Arabics, they put the minute Arabics on the inside. There's no minute markings though, so that's not good. That's one of the reasons it's not scoring as well. No minute marks. It's a penalty. Traditional vibe, 1 out of 10. That's as low as you get. It's not traditional looking whatsoever. It says loomed hands only. This is the lume shot for a different Nixon watch, but loomed hands only is just like that. Maybe my scoring system should have had more penalties, because this is too high. Overall, only like 63% of the watches are recommended out of the box in the entire population. So that's kind of how I tuned the scoring system. I wanted the majority of traditional field watches to be recommended. This one skated in somehow. It's not traditional. Score 74, barely scraping by due to the Zulu strap and stuff like that. 50th place is the Voyager Gurkha from the land of the rising sun. It says Voyager, but it's Japanese. It's $66, 36 across, 10 thick. And it's the weird offset thing. And I've mentioned, if you want to make the one go at the top, you kind of have to contort your wrist to do that. It makes more sense if you wear the watch on the inside of the wrist to have it offset like that. I don't get it. I think that would be confusing and weird. That's what they did. They make ones that are bisected where it's white on one side and black on the other. That's a little bit too weird, so I put up the regular one just with the red zero. I love a zero at the top. It's just a thing that I love. It shouldn't have 24 though. It should have 12 here, not 24, because the 0 and the 24 are the same thing. So they're a little confused about what they're doing. Here's the lume for the Voyager Gurkha. Okay, I guess you can see the bicolor version on here. Score 73. 51st place is the Alba AXHL 76X1 Workman's Analog. $69, 40 millimeters, 9.5. I think they're thinking like a construction worker would like this or something. The bezel doesn't rotate, fixed bezel. It does have the military time. Apparently there's no lume, these are just stickers on the hands. Some watches do that. They put stickers. This watch has stickers on the hand that makes it look like there's lume, but there's no lume. Just white stickers. So that's what they did with this one. It's got a nasty looking bracelet. Not good. But somehow it's scraped in. Not totally the bottom. We're like halfway through, aren't we? You can do better than this Alba for sure. Next is the Bernie AM 7110 VM. $140, 38 across, 10 thick. And this is based on the Patek Philippe, I believe it's the Calatrava. I can't remember, I'm sorry. I do like the texture dial. This looks cheesy though. What they did with the Bernie and the automatic. It's looking bad. This faux Tina is way too dark. It's looking really strange. The crown guards, I removed background here, but this is actually what the crown guards are. There's a huge gap here. Looks really weird. The date complication doesn't match. It's just an ugly watch. I wouldn't go for this one. Lume apparently is decent, but there's no second lume. There's no index marks. Yeah. Steel, not white gold like it's supposed to be with Patek. And the Seiko, the only Seiko. Technically not passing unless you swap out the strap to a pass-through. It's the Seiko SNZG 11K1. $179, 42 across, 12 thick. It's not the best field watch. It really isn't. We've seen so many that score much better than this one. 100 meters push-pull. The day-date complication certainly hurts it. Nylon strap hurts it. But it's kind of big. It's a 42. That's larger than it should be. 12 thick. Automatic movement's not very robust. It sort of gets the traditional vibe. I give it 7 out of 10. Got as high brand strength as you possibly can with Seiko. Full brand strength points. Based on watchcharts.com rankings of brands. Here's a picture of the Seiko lume. It looks passable. Only indexes though. Indexes and hands. You can do better than the Seiko. Score 72. 54th place, recommended only if you swap the strap out, is the Baltony S2081. $139, 39 millimeters across, 12 thick. Similar to that Seiko, just doesn't quite get over the hump. The lume is decent for sure. No problems with the lume. I think that's going to be good. Kind of an odd picture. We saw other ones with small seconds that score higher. This one does have a date here in the middle of the small seconds. That's kind of cool. Score 72. 55th place is the Smith & Wesson Field Watch. Only $20, 38 across, 10 millimeters thick. And if you go to the website where they sell these, any website they sell them, look at the reviews. People are always saying, this thing broke. I took it diving and it didn't work. It got filled with water. It says 30 meters. People are confused about 30 meters. Yeah, you shouldn't submerge a 30 meter water resistance watch. It's not designed for that. Maybe a little splish splash when you're washing your hands, you're gonna be okay. But yeah, you're gonna wreck your watch. It's not a great watch. Only the hands are lumed. Of course, couldn't find a lume shop for that. Nah, you can do much better than the Smith & Wesson. Score 72. Do not recommend. No way can I recommend the Smith & Wesson. All right, 56th place is the Smith & Bradley Discovery. $99, 40 across, 11 thick. There's no lume on this watch. It just looks funky. It looks off-center or weird or something. The date window, I don't know what it is. It just looks bad. I don't like this one. Doesn't pass, not recommended. Score 71. 57th is the TPW Field Watch. $6, 42 across, 7 thick, zinc alloy case. I mean, it's $6. What are you expecting? There's no lume or anything. It's a cheap one. Not recommended. Score 71. 58th, actually 55th that it's possible for me to recommend if you swap out the strap, is Svalbard Antiken AA60. $150. 40.5 across, 9 thick. It's a 24-hour movement watch. That's kind of what these guys do. They do all kinds of weird stuff. They have decimal time. They do one-handed watches. This is the closest thing to a field watch that they make. It's got the cone crown. Yeah, it's a 24-hour movement. There's no lume on it. It's kind of overpriced, honestly. They have these really basic watches that they're just unique. That's what you're paying for, is the fact that you can't find something like this. You don't see this kind of thing anywhere else, really, but especially the decimal time stuff they do. But yeah, not passing. Suppose you can if you swap the strap or something. Yeah, don't get this one for traditional field. 59th is the Wenger City Sport. $150, 42 across, 8 thick. Looking very sporty, not very traditional vibe. Very bright red and then the yellow. That's a little bit McDonald's for me. I wouldn't go for this one. Not recommended unless you swap it. I guess maybe you could. Yeah, it's not a traditional field watch. Maybe I should have excluded these from the video entirely. 60th place is the Casio HD A600B. $30, 41 across, 13.4. It's got bull bars. That's pretty cool, I guess. I don't recommend it. Really doesn't get the field vibe. 2 out of 10. There are better Casios. I would go with the Casio Forester over this. Score 70. 61st place is the Coulouse KVX 4211. It is actually a titanium watch. Again, copying the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic. Push-pull crown, 50 meters water resistance. No lume. Don't recommend it. 62nd place, another dirt cheap watch. $23. The MDC Infantry. Yeah, there are cheap watches you can get. I don't recommend the MDC. I think you can do better. Score 70. 63rd place is the Fowler Scout. Fowler? $179, right at the top of the price range. 40 across, 10 thick. We've seen similar numbers on other watches. I do like this though. It's got really cool looks to it. I gave it an 8 out of 10 for traditional vibe. It just has poor specs. It's aluminum. Aluminum is really lightweight, so I'm estimating maybe 50 grams or something. But aluminum is also a really weak metal, so that's not great. Aluminum's not the only thing holding it back. It's got other issues going on here. But I do technically recommend it if you swap it onto a pass-through. It'll be more robust that way. So I guess technically this could get up to a 74. It would still only be a C grade. It's not top of the pack by any means. No lume really hurts it. They should have put lume on it. Score 69. 64th place is the Pagani Design Spirit, PD 1717. Homaging the Longines Spirit. It's $68 only, 38 across, 13 thick. It's got good specs. The bracelet really takes off a ton of points. So if you swap it to a NATO, this is absolutely recommendable. So C plus grade if you put it on a NATO. That's not horrible. The bracelet is the main issue with this one. There's no date or anything. It does have these applied numerals. They fall off. They look good. The main issue with this one is the bracelet. Score 69. 65th place is the Bernie Titanium. Clearly modeled after the Zin 556A. $72, 37 across, 9 thick. They have the Seiko crown situation going on. That's okay. The lume is really good on this. It's got full lume. They have orange lume on the second. Bernie uses orange lume a lot, and I really appreciate that. That is super cool. This is another one. If you want it to be a traditional field watch, just swap out that strap. It can get up to a passable 74 C grade. But it is more of like a pilot-y style watch. It is like that Zin 556A. Not the best traditional field watch at all. But it's a cool watch though. Score 69. 66th place, 61st are the ones it's possible for me to recommend. It's the Nixon Clutch 42. $150, 42 millimeters across, 10 millimeters thick. I love this screwdriver pattern on the crown. Those are super cool. Hands are... Did I give it medium? Yeah, I gave it medium contrast because the numbers are dark and the hands are not that great. It's a cool watch. I like Nixon. They make some interesting watches. Not the best traditional field watch. They do have lume, I just don't have the shot for you. Score 69. 67th place is the Timex Great Smoky Mountains. They make a lot of different ones of different national parks. That's a really cool thing to do. It's only $65 too, 40 millimeters across, 10 thick. It's just the specs are not great on it. It's plastic watch, 50 meters water resistance, push-pull crown. It doesn't have Indiglow. It just has loomed hour and minute hands. And we've got poor contrast here because these are light hands. I gave it low contrast penalty because it's a light dial with light hands. Not good. I do love the concept of this. I wish they had beefed it up just a little bit more. Or given it Indiglow. I think Indiglow would have saved this one. No, it wouldn't have. Total score is 68. 68th place is the Maven MUS-01. $168, 48 across, 8 millimeters thick. Good size, but it only has 30 meters water resistance with push-pull crown. That's its downfall. And the lume is poor. Not recommended. 69th is the Seizen W10. $119, 38 across, 12 thick. This is our first hand winding watch, I believe. It's a seagull hand winding movement. It just kind of has poor specs. Lume is not great. Only these little triangles are loomed, and there's no lume on the second hand. Technically, this is the last watch it's possible for me to recommend. Is recommend the right word? It barely skates in if you swap it to a NATO. That's all it is. 68 is not a great score. I think you can do better. 70th place is the Invicta Specialty 1550. Railroad approved. All right. $45, 44 across, 11 thick. It's too big. 44 is way too big. Specs are not all that great. There's no lume on it. The hands are really cool though. I like these blued hands. Looks pretty cool. But it's like kind of classy on the dial, at least with the blued hands. But then they've got this more modern, kind of rugged looking case. It doesn't make sense. It's weird. If they're going for the railroad thing, it should look classy. It should look old timey. But instead it looks like rugged over here. They've got the hobnail crown. That doesn't make any sense. It's just a weird watch. Score 67. 71st is the Freestyle Men's Ranger Field. $30, 45 across, 12. I thought this one might be able to do okay because it's got crown guards, it's got 100 meters water resistance, it doesn't have any lume on it. It's just really not the best. I think Walmart sells this one. Not the best traditional field watch. 72nd place, the Casio MW240B. It's $30, 44 across, so kind of big. 10.3 thick. It's a cheap Casio, but it doesn't pass the class. Again, go with that Forester instead. Score 66. 73rd place is the Thorn T003 Ranger Tribute. $162, 34 across, so very small, 9.5 thick. They're going more vintage inspired with this one, modeling it after the older Tudor Ranger. There's something weird about the hands. They don't look quite right. I do like that they make a red one. Get black, blue, or red options. Bracelet does have an extension on it. It's a cool watch, more of a Gata watch, really. Score 65. The First Citizen, I think it's the First Citizen, hopefully that's right. In 74th place, the Citizen Bottle Cap NJ2918. Only $159. Very cheap for a Citizen. 46 though. Citizen makes large watches. 12 thick. It's got kind of dive style hands on it. It's got I call it some batons, the 12-3-6-9. It has a compass bezel. That's pretty cool. Not a great traditional field watch. Cool looking watch though. Score 64. In 75th place, a watch that I own is the Columbia Cross Trails. $68, 44 millimeters across, 12.5 millimeters thick. The battery died on mine and I did not replace it. This watch didn't get very much wear from me. I'm not even trying to sell it because who would want this thing? But yeah, it's not a good watch. Push-pull crown. I do like the orange second. That's pretty cool. I actually have a full review of this if anyone's interested. The bezel doesn't turn. It's just molded into the case. I don't understand why they did that. It's super weird. Yeah, it's just a really cheap watch. Plastic, crystal, and everything. Scored 64. All right, we're down to the final five. 76th place is the Rue HDS1. $170, 41.5 across, 9.8 thick. It's looking a lot more like a racing watch than a field watch. Doesn't have great specs. Doesn't have a traditional field watch vibe. Score 62. 77th place is the Skechers Parkhurst. They made shoes. Who knew that they make watches too? Well, they make lousy watches. Zinc alloy case, 30 meters water resistance. Not very good. Score 60. 78th place is the Gustav Becker military watch. 103 bucks, 43 across, 14 thick. It's a 50 meter. It looks like it would be robust. It's really not. It's not super robust. Do not recommend this watch. Score 60. The scores have darkened. They're now below 60. Wait, what is F? Is this F? Yeah, we're in the F grades now. The Seiko military watch, $13 only. It's plastic. It says 200 meters on the dial, but on the spec sheet they say water resistance none. So I wouldn't get this one. The gold hands look super weird. I do like the green numbers though. That is pretty cool. Score of 59. In 80th place, last place, is the Timex Expedition Trap Rock. $91. Way too much money. 43 across, 10.8. Only 30 meters water resistance. I don't understand why they did that. Loomed hands only, that's all you get. Yeah, this is the worst one. Timex, right near the top, and then also all the way at the bottom, a wide variation in quality with Timexes. This is not the one to get. I think even those National Park ones are cheaper than this. I would go for that over this one. There's a lot better Timex watches, for sure. Those were the watches. And now we can go to the top 5. I can show you the top 5. Just go up there. A lot of slides to get through. We looked at a ton of watches. Yeah, let's go see what the top 5 are. Here are the top 5 traditional field watches. Getting the 5th place medal is the Addy's Dive AD 2088. 94 bucks, only 36 across, excellent. 12.5 thick though, it's a little bit on the thick side, and that's due to the automatic movement. It has 200 meters water resistance, screw down crown, gigantic crown. It's crazy huge. I mean, I think that the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic has a big crown. This looks way bigger even. Gigantic crown. It has fantastic lume, really excellent. You've got the mix of colors, you've got all the Arabics loomed, you've got lume on the second hand. That's great. No date complication. Really the biggest downside with this is the thickness and the automatic movement. I would prefer to see a mecha quartz or a solar quartz movement and a thinner watch. But this is high up there. Great grade, really good traditional vibe. NATO strap. They're getting almost everything right on this one. Score of 87. Receiving the 4th place medal is the Militato ML05. It's 49 bucks, 38 across, 10.1 thick. They make this exact watch pretty much in a 36 millimeter if you prefer. I thought the 38 was a little bit more standard. I thought people would prefer that one. 36 is going to score pretty much the same. I think that one's called the ML07. It's got a mecha quartz movement right down here. That's a pretty high scoring movement option because it has anti-shock. Quartz movements are more shock resistant than automatics. I really like this gray NATO strap. That looks really cool. Nice and thin on this one. The lume is not as good as that Addy's Dive though. You only get the indexes, you get the second hand and the other hands, but no numbers are loomed, so that's a little bit too bad. But yeah, this is a solid option, and only 49 bucks. Fantastic price. The top 3 are all much more expensive than this one. Total score of 88. In 3rd place, getting the bronze medal, is the Timex Expedition North Field Solar 36 millimeter. So yeah, there's a Timex in last place, and there's a Timex up in 3rd place. So Timex has that full gamut. This one has 100 meters water resistance, screw down crown. It comes on a leather strap. It would score even higher. It would get up to a 93 if you put this thing on a NATO strap or a Zulu strap. It's a very good field watch. Timex did a great job with this one. No date complication or anything. The orange is a little bit weird to me with the brown. I think this will look better on like a gray NATO strap or a black NATO strap. Something like that. These brown accents on the strap are throwing me off. I don't care for that. It would have been nice to see a little bit of color on the second hand. In the dark, I know this lume shot is horrible, but that gives you an idea of the lume. Very poor lume on the indexes. Tiny, tiny little, yeah, they're orange, so how's that gonna work? I don't think this is gonna be very good lume whatsoever. But it's nice and thin, only 8.5 thick. It's the thinnest one in the top 5. Awesome traditional field watch. I only gave it 8 out of 10 for the vibe, but it's a good one. Score of 88. 2nd place, it had to be a Bertucci, right? The Bertucci Construction King. 135 bucks, 40 millimeters across, 15 thick. It's very thick. It's 100 meters water resistance with a screw down crown. Yes, screw that crown down. That's the way to go. It comes on this really interesting pass-through strap that's really thin. I haven't tried one of those, but I bet it's awesome. It's got the rubber bumper protecting the front of it. You can take that thing off if you don't like it. It just slides on over the strap, but that'll help protect your watch, help protect the crystal even more. It's a really cool thing to do. Lume is a weak spot on this watch, unfortunately. They only lume the indexes. That is one downside to Bertucci watches. They usually don't do lume very well. I'm estimating it to weigh around 90 grams or something. Totally reasonable. A little bit on the heavier side. Lost a point there. Brand strength is not very high for Bertucci. This is a good one for sure. Total score of 91. All right, first place, drum roll. What is the best watch? It is the Bertucci A2 SEL. The best watch under 180 bucks. Best traditional field watch. It's the one I have here. I'm actually surprised it made it so high. I revamped the scoring system. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to see. I just knew intellectually I needed to change some things up from what I did a year and a half ago. In this price range, very high score. The highest score, 93. It's steel. It has a really cool backlight. This is my own personal picture that I took of the backlight. It's really nice. I do enjoy that a lot. I wish that the crown would screw down. That would certainly help it. It would be a 96 if they screw down that crown. Super high score. Traditional vibe, I only give it 7 out of 10. So I will fully concede it's not all the way there with traditional looks. The scoring system encompasses so much more than just the looks. And the looks will factor in heavily in the final runoff, the Thunderdome, where 2 watches enter, 1 watch leaves at the end. Things that Bertucci does really well, because it's hard to just know. I probably should have mentioned this on the Construction King, but I'll mention it here. They do recessed mineral crystals. The crystal is way below the bezel, so you're much less likely to damage the crystal if you bump your watch into something. That's really excellent. They also do fixed lug bars, or on this one, which is even better, you have a screw bar. You have hex screws that go in, very thick hex screws. Probably can't see it if I hold it up, but these are really robust. And these lug bars are extremely thick, extremely robust. And the benefit to screw bars is you can do different types of straps if you don't want to pass through. It's as robust as fixed lugs, but you have the option to change straps if you really want to. Mine does not have that rubber cover. That rubber cover does give it a point bonus. There's no date complication or anything. I really like the black on the white. They didn't need to do this thing with the hands, with the lume, because it's a backlight. They could have been fully black. I would prefer that, but you do get some just conventional lume in the dark too. I'll show you that shot. Yeah, they actually glow pretty well. I've been very pleased with this watch. I have a full review if you're interested. But that was my number 1 traditional field watch under 180 bucks. So those were all the watches in the affordable price range. Next week, I will do another price category. I'm going to mix it up a little bit this time, mix up the order. Next week, I'm going to do top tier. I'm going to show you the ones that are over 900 bucks. That's what we'll do next week. And then I'll do all the other price ranges too. But stay tuned for those other price ranges. I'm going to save the best price range for last. That's what I'm doing. The quality price range, $180 to $375. That'll be the last price range I cover. If you've watched my videos before, you know that after I talk about the watches, I always talk about the Bible. So that's what I'm going to do now. It's Bible time. Welcome to Bible Time. I'm not a pastor or a trained biblical scholar. I just love sharing the Bible with people. Today I'm continuing the Hebrews 11 Hall of Faith with person number 12. 12th one, Gideon. Passage is found in Hebrews 11 verse 32. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets. Okay, so Paul didn't have time to talk about Gideon, but I'm going to talk about him today. Gideon's story is found in Judges chapters 6 through 8. It's a lot of info. Gideon actually has more verses on him than any other judge in the book of Judges. 100 verses. So there's a lot of narrative there. I'll give a brief synopsis. You can see why Paul just kind of bullet pointed that. If you're not familiar with the book of Judges, there's a familiar cycle to each of the stories in the book of Judges. It starts off with Israel being unfaithful, falling into some kind of idolatry. After that, bad things happen to Israel, second bullet point. Then Israel calls for help, and then God sends a judge to them. He appoints a prophet, a judge to lead Israel, to help Israel. And then the last bullet point is that the people turn from their wicked ways. Sometimes for a short period of time, sometimes for a longer period of time, but they always go back to that beginning. They become unfaithful and get back into idolatry again. So that's the cycle in the book of Judges. And as far as it relates to Gideon, the first and second bullet points of that cycle are found in Judges 6, verse 1. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, first bullet point, and for 7 years he gave them into the hand of the Midianites. They were oppressed by the Midianites. Bad things happened to them. That was bullet point 2. The third bullet point is found in verse 7, when the Israelites cried out to the Lord because of Midian, because of being oppressed. So they called to the Lord for help. Lord, help us. Fourth bullet point, God called Gideon to be a judge. So God chose a judge to help them. And that's found in Judges 6, verses 11 through 12. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." So my pastor recently preached a series on the book of Judges, and he used 2 Sundays to cover Gideon. So it's definitely fresh in my mind. This was pretty recently. My pastor titled the messages on Gideon, The Unlikely Judge, Part 1 and Part 2. So let's start with that, the unlikely part. So God calls Gideon, and then here's Gideon's response. In Judges 6, verses 15 and 16, "Pardon me, my lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." Probably least meaning smallest. He's probably not that mighty of a warrior. The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." So this is before David and Goliath. God can make a small man, he can make any man victorious through his power. The Bible tells us that with God's power, anything is possible. There's a couple relevant verses. Philippians 4:13. "I can do all this through him who gives me strength." Of course, Paul's talking about living in poverty and not knowing what his next meal is going to be and all these things that would totally demoralize us just on our human power. Well, God strengthened him. He was walking in the path of God, and so he could do all of this through God who strengthens him. Matthew 19:26. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." And he's talking specifically about a rich man getting in heaven. I think the point remains, with God all things are possible. There's certainly other things to support that as well. Walking in God's will, doing what God is asking you to do. You don't have to worry about whether you'll be victorious or not. Gideon wasn't skeptical of God's power. He just wanted to make sure that it was truly God he was talking to. And so he asked God to show him a sign. And in verse 17, here's where it's found, Gideon replied, "If now I have found favor in your eyes, give me a sign that it is really you talking to me." Again, he just wanted to confirm that it was God actually talking to him. And this is a healthy thing to do. It never says that Gideon doubted God's ability. You won't find that in Judges. So I'll summarize the response. The angel of God gave a sign to Gideon. He asked him to put bread and meat on a rock. He touched it with his staff, the angel of God, and it burst into flames, and it was consumed by the fire. That convinced Gideon that he was talking to the angel of God. He was then instructed to tear down his father's altar to Baal, replace it with a proper altar to God, to Yahweh, and to offer a bull as a burnt offering. By faith, Gideon did it. He knew he was talking to God, so he had total faith. He did it. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon. So after Gideon had sort of proved himself willing to follow through on God's instructions, the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and Gideon summoned forces from the Israelites, calling them to arms against the Midianites. So a ton of soldiers came up, and this is found in verses 34 through 35. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, summoning the Abiezrites to follow him. He sent messengers throughout Manasseh, calling them to arms, and also into Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, so that they too went up to meet him. It tells us that at that time the Midianites had 135,000 troops, huge army, and Israel, after calling all these people up, only had 32,000. Now, it doesn't say that explicitly in the text, but you can do the math from the final numbers and how many are removed to back into that number, 32,000. So 32,000 versus 135,000. They were outnumbered more than 4-1. With those odds, Gideon was still skeptical, so he asked God for 2 more signs to prove that it was really God asking him to do this. And then what follows is the story with the fleece. Gideon sets the fleece out, and he says, just put dew on the fleece, but not on the floor, God does that. And then the next night he asks, okay, do the opposite. Put the dew on the ground, but not on the fleece. And God does that as well. So, I mean, at this point, Gideon is convinced he's talking to God. And he did ask these things in humility. He said, do not be angry with me, God, for asking this. And God was not angry. I don't think he's angry with us for testing the spirits. We're instructed specifically to do that. But here's where things get really miraculous. So we had the bread and the meat just bursting into flames. Bigger miracles coming. God told Gideon that the 32,000 men were too many. Being outnumbered 4-1, that's too many. So in Judges 7, verse 2, it says, the Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me. My own strength has saved me. He knew that Israel would say, oh yeah, we're just super strong. We can win fights where it's more than 4-1. So God said, you need fewer men. God had Gideon get rid of all the soldiers who were scared. He asked the soldiers, if you're scared, leave. And then 2/3 of the men left. The 32,000 men went down to 10,000. Okay, so 10,000 versus 135,000. Less than 1/10 of the numbers of the Midianite army. Still too many. Still too many for God. He didn't want there to be any doubt about who's going to win this victory. So in Judges 7, verse 4, but the Lord said to Gideon, there are still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you there. If I say, this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say, this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. Gideon does it. By faith, Gideon does everything God asks of him. That's why he's in the Hall of Faith. There's then a test. There's a test of the men based on how they drink the water, whether they get on their knees and whether they bring it to their mouth. And the result is that after the test, Gideon is left with just 300 men. The 10,000 go down to 300. So 300 men versus the 135,000 man army of the Midianites. 450 to 1 is the numbers there. Crazy. So God then gives Gideon a tactic to defeat the Midianites with just 300 men. And the tactic is that they surround the Midianites right after a guard change, blow some trumpets, break some jars, and shout. And that's going to defeat the army. That was the tactic. And miraculously, it worked. It actually worked. After they did this, the Midianites turned on each other with their swords, started fighting each other. This is in Judges 7, verse 22. When the 300 trumpets sounded, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other with their swords. The army fled to Bethshittah toward Zerahat, as far as the border of Abel-Meholah near Tabith. Then other Israelites join the party. They pursue the Midianites and defeat them. It's just a really cool story of God's power and how through faith God's awesome power can be displayed in our lives. I mean, there was no way. There's no way on human power that this should have worked. And of course, the Bible says the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other. There's supernatural stuff happening here. There's no way you can say as men, 300 people surrounded this humongous army, and somehow that just, oh, they were so scared. It doesn't make sense without supernatural intervention. And then the story after that point, after this amazing victory, Israel pretty quickly continues that cycle of the book of Judges. They return to idolatry. That's just what kept happening over and over again. They'd have these victories and they'd return to their idolatry. But as far as Hebrews 11 is concerned, we've kind of covered the meat of what made Gideon into the Hall of Faith. And I can see why Paul said he didn't have time to tell Gideon. There's a lot of info there, but also at this point, Paul has already explained 11 other people. I guess 12 if you count Abraham, because there were 2 stories of Abraham. So there's a lot of stories already. And Paul didn't want to beat the dead horse with this thing and just go on with all these stories. So he's just saying, yeah, think about all these other guys, which you already know, their stories. They also exhibited amazing faith. I suppose the boiled down version of Gideon's story would be, by faith Gideon, though skeptical of his abilities, followed the Lord's instruction. Against insurmountable odds, God delivered his people from the oppressive rule of the Midianites. Gideon was faithful to follow God's instruction, despite the seeming impossibility of the situation. And I know I didn't really get Paul's tone or anything. Maybe that last sentence wasn't even needed. So you could boil it down to a few sentences, but Paul didn't want to beat the dead horse. I have a few bullet point takeaways from Gideon's story. 1, we should not underestimate God's power. This was a victory that was impossible, totally impossible on human power. There were 450 Midianite soldiers to every 1 Israelite soldier. It's impossible. So we should not underestimate what God can do. Second, God can use any ordinary person to do extraordinary things. The Bible doesn't describe Gideon as some powerful, massive figure. It says he was part of kind of an insignificant house, and he's the least of his house. With God's power, we don't have to be some giant to do his will in our lives. And number three, faith is the fuel to see God's limitless power displayed. Jesus talks about this in many places, but yeah, Matthew 17, verse 20 is one of the famous ones. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. The faith is the ingredient there. Faith in God's promises, willingness to do what he says. That's inspiring, but it's also convicting. And the verse shouldn't be taken out of context about moving mountains. It's not like, oh, I want a Lamborghini, so if I have faith that God will give me a Lamborghini, I'll just get it. Or, sadly, I think how this is often used is someone is sick and dying, and we think, oh, if I just believe that they're not sick anymore, if I just believe it truly to my core, I know God is able to do this. If I just believe it, it will happen. That's not really what Jesus is saying here. It's really just, there is no limit to God's power, and in faith, if we're doing God's will, we don't have to worry about, is it going to succeed or not? That's all I have on the life of Gideon, named person number 12. And next time I'll cover number 13. Who's number 13? Barack. Not Barack Obama, but the biblical Barack. That's all I've got. If you want more biblical analysis, please check out the pastors I've linked in the description. They're all awesome. Now let's close with a prayer. Lord, I thank you for this story. I really do identify with Gideon here. I don't feel like I have special abilities. I'm necessarily the one who should be doing work for you. But throughout the Bible, there are so many examples of people who really didn't think they were the one that should have been chosen, but yet you chose them to bring your will into fruition. And Lord, that really is meaningful. That really shows to me that you love all of us. You love all your children. You want all of us to thrive. No matter what our self-doubts are, no matter what our weaknesses are, you can bring about great things in our lives. Lord, I pray that you would fill us with great faith. When I'm lacking faith, I pray that you would give me more faith, just to trust in your promises and to listen to that voice that tells me, oh, this person needs a little help, because you tell me that. I get those moments of inspiration. Oh, I should help this person. Lord, please help me to listen to that voice, to listen to your voice, and to give freely of what I have to those who are in need. Pray this for all of us. And Lord, I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace always and in every way. The Lord be with you all. See you next time.